When Marcus Rivera offered his last $200 to a woman he'd known for 1 week, he thought he was helping someone who had nothing. He was wrong. The woman sitting across from him at Denny's, sharing pancakes and worrying about rent, was actually worth $50 million. She'd bought thrift store clothes, rented a fake apartment, and created an entirely new identity, all to answer one question. Could a man love her if he thought she was broke? Marcus, a widowed security guard raising his 4-year-old daughter on night shift wages, was about to become the unwitting subject of the most expensive social experiment of his life. But here's what neither of them expected. The test would work both ways. Because while Olivia was discovering if genuine love still existed, Marcus was about to prove that some people are willing to give everything they have to someone who appears to have nothing. And when the truth finally came out, it would destroy them both. This is the story of a lie that revealed the deepest truth about love, sacrifice, and what it really means to be rich. Hey everyone, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I love connecting with viewers from around the world. 3 months earlier, across town in her Cherry Creek penthouse, Olivia Chen was having her own dating disaster. She sat across from David, a marketing executive who'd seemed promising online, watching him calculate something on his phone. So your company's valuation is what, around 50 million? David asked, not even looking up. That's impressive for someone your age. I'm actually between jobs right now, but with your connections. Olivia's heart sank. Another one. Another man who saw dollar signs instead of her. I think we should call it a night, she said quietly. David's face changed instantly. Wait, did I say something wrong? I just meant we could be a power couple, you know? Your business sense, my marketing background. She was already standing up, leaving cash on the table for both their meals. Good night, David. Walking to her Tesla in the restaurant parking lot, Olivia felt the familiar ache in her chest. She'd built Summit Digital from nothing after her parents lost their restaurant in 2008. She'd worked 3 jobs through community college, taught herself to code, and clawed her way to success. But every man she met either wanted her money or was intimidated by her power. Her phone buzzed. A text from her assistant. How did it go? Same as always, Olivia typed back. He asked about my company's valuation before dessert. That night, staring at the city lights from her floor-to-ceiling windows, Olivia made a decision that would change 2 lives forever. She was going to find out if genuine men still existed. But she'd have to become someone else to do it. The next morning, she drove to a Goodwill in a neighborhood she'd never visited. She bought faded jeans, worn sneakers, and simple t-shirts. She practiced looking tired in her bathroom mirror. She moved her old Honda Civic out of storage, the car she'd driven through college but hadn't touched in years. Then she created a new dating profile. Liv, 31, retail manager. Looking for someone who knows that love matters more than money. Meanwhile, Marcus was having his own internal battle. His mother-in-law Carmen had been clear. You need to focus on providing for Sophia, not chasing women who'll just be another burden. But Sophia's preschool teacher had pulled him aside that week. Sophia's been asking about when Daddy will find a new mommy. She sees other kids with 2 parents and she's starting to feel different. Marcus looked at the photo of his late wife Elena on the mantel. What should I do? He whispered to the picture. Elena had always been the brave one, the one who pushed him to take chances. That evening, after Sophia was asleep, he created his own dating profile. He was honest about everything: single dad, night shift security guard, studying for his EMT certification. Looking for someone who understands that love matters more than money. He almost deleted it 3 times before hitting submit. 2 days later, they matched. Their first messages were careful, polite. But something clicked. Marcus didn't immediately ask what Olivia did for work. Instead, he commented on a book she'd mentioned in her profile. She didn't ask about his income. Instead, she asked thoughtful questions about Sophia and what it was like being a single parent. After a week of messaging, Marcus suggested meeting at Denny's on Colfax Avenue. I know it's not fancy, he typed, but they have good coffee and it's affordable. Olivia stared at the message. When was the last time a man had chosen a restaurant based on what he could afford, rather than what would impress her? She looked at her closet full of designer clothes, then at the Goodwill bag in the corner. Denny's sounds perfect, she replied. The night of their date, Olivia sat in her Honda in the Denny's parking lot, wearing faded jeans and a simple sweater. Her hands were shaking. She'd practiced her story, retail manager at a department store, struggling to make rent, living paycheck to paycheck. It felt wrong to lie, but she had to know. She had to find out if there were still men in the world who could love someone with nothing. Marcus arrived 5 minutes early, wearing his best khakis and a button-down shirt that was clearly from Target but carefully ironed. He kept checking his wallet, counting the bills inside. $37. Enough for both their meals if they ordered carefully. When Olivia walked in, he stood up immediately. Liv? She nodded and he pulled out her chair. Such a small gesture, but when was the last time someone had done that without expecting something in return? Thank you for meeting me, Marcus said, sitting down across from her. I have to admit, I'm pretty nervous. I haven't done this in a long time. Me neither, Olivia said, and that part was true. They ordered coffee and shared a plate of pancakes. Marcus's suggestion when he saw the prices. I hope you don't mind splitting, he said. I believe in being upfront about things, but what he did next would prove he was exactly the kind of man she'd been searching for. When their food arrived, Olivia mentioned casually, Work's been rough lately. My manager's been cutting hours, and I'm actually behind on rent this month. She watched Marcus's face carefully. Most men would offer advice, maybe suggest she find a better job. Some would change the subject entirely. Marcus set down his fork and looked at her with genuine concern. How behind? About $200? Olivia lied, hating herself for it. Without hesitation, Marcus reached for his wallet. I can help with that. No, I couldn't. Please. He pulled out 4 $50 bills. Clearly most of what he had. I know we just met, but nobody should lose their home over $200. Olivia stared at the money. This man, who was obviously struggling himself, was offering her his last cash. Marcus, you don't even know me. I know enough, he said simply. You're kind. You ask about Sophia like you actually care about the answer. And you're here, sharing pancakes with me instead of expecting some fancy restaurant. He pushed the bills toward her. Take it, please. She couldn't take his money, but she couldn't break character either. I can't, but thank you. That's the kindest thing anyone's offered me in years. Marcus nodded, putting the money away, but she could see him thinking. When the waitress brought their check, he quietly asked her to box up half his pancakes. For later, he told Olivia, but then handed her the container. In case you get hungry tonight. He was giving her food from his own plate. Food he'd paid for with money he clearly couldn't spare. Marcus, you don't have to. My mom always said you never let someone go hungry if you can help it. He smiled, but she could see the worry in his eyes. Worry about his own bills, his own struggles, and yet he was taking care of her. Walking to their cars, Olivia felt something she hadn't felt in years. Not gratitude for an expensive gift or a business opportunity. Something deeper. Someone had seen her, or who he thought she was, and chosen kindness over self-preservation. I'd like to see you again, Marcus said, standing by her beat-up Honda. If you want to, I mean. I'd like that too. Maybe next time we could do something free. There's a concert in the park this weekend. Sophia would love to meet you, if you're okay with that. Meeting his daughter, the ultimate test of his intentions. I'd love to meet Sophia. After he drove away, Olivia sat in her car and cried. Real tears, for the first time in months. This man had offered her his last money, his food, his time with his daughter, and he thought she was broke. But she was in too deep now. She had to see where this led. The park concert was 3 days later. Olivia arrived in her Goodwill clothes, carrying a small bag of dollar store snacks she'd bought to stay in character. She found Marcus spreading a blanket on the grass, Sophia beside him in a pink dress that was clearly hand-me-down, but lovingly cared for. "Sophia, this is Liv," Marcus said gently. "The friend I told you about." Sophia looked up at Olivia with serious brown eyes. "Daddy says you're nice, but lots of people say they're nice." "Sophia," Marcus warned softly. "It's okay," Olivia said, kneeling down to Sophia's level. "You're right to be careful. What would help you decide if I'm actually nice?" Sophia considered this seriously. "Do you have a fancy car?" Olivia pointed to her Honda. "That one's mine." "Good. Fancy car ladies don't stay." Sophia paused. "Do you have lots of money?" Sophia. "No," Olivia said honestly. "I don't have lots of money." Sophia nodded approvingly. "Okay, you can sit on our blanket." As the afternoon went on, Olivia watched Marcus with his daughter. He was patient when Sophia spilled juice on her dress. He braided her hair when it got messy. He answered her endless questions about the musicians with genuine interest, even when he clearly didn't know the answers. "Daddy works at night so he can be with me during the day," Sophia announced to Olivia during a quiet moment. "He gets really tired, but he says I'm worth it." Marcus blushed. "Sophia, you don't have to." "It's true," Sophia said matter-of-factly. "Mommy used to say Daddy would do anything for me." She was right. The mention of Sophia's mother created a moment of silence. Marcus's face showed a flash of old pain, but also something else. Peace, maybe. Or acceptance. "Your mommy was very smart," Olivia said softly to Sophia. "She was. She's in heaven now, but Daddy says she still watches over us." Sophia looked at Olivia seriously. "Do you think that's true?" Olivia felt her throat tighten. "I think if your mommy loved you as much as your daddy does, then yes, she's definitely watching over you." Sophia smiled and leaned against Olivia's arm. Such a simple gesture, but it meant everything. As the sun set, Marcus packed up their things. "I'm sorry this wasn't more exciting," he said to Olivia. "I know it's not much of a date." "Are you kidding? This was perfect." And she meant it. When was the last time she'd sat on grass, listening to local musicians, watching a father love his daughter so completely? When was the last time someone had apologized for not spending enough money on her? "Would you like to come over for dinner this week?" Marcus asked as they walked to their cars. "I can't promise anything fancy, but I make a mean spaghetti and meatballs." Sophia tugged on Olivia's hand. "Say yes. Daddy's meatballs are really good. I'd love to." But as Olivia drove home to her penthouse that night, the weight of her deception grew heavier. Marcus was introducing her to his daughter, inviting her into his home, sharing his life with someone he thought was struggling just like him. She was falling in love with a man who had no idea who she really was, and soon she'd have to decide. Tell the truth and risk losing him, or keep lying to the most honest person she'd ever met. What she didn't know was that the choice would be made for her in the most devastating way possible. The dinner invitation came with an address in Aurora that Olivia had to GPS. She'd never been to this part of Denver, a neighborhood of small apartment complexes and chain restaurants, where families made every dollar count. Marcus's building was older but well-maintained, with a small playground where kids were playing as she pulled up. She sat in her Honda for a moment, looking at the $20 bottle of wine she'd bought, expensive enough to be good, cheap enough for Liv to afford. Apartment 2B was on the second floor. She could hear laughter through the door before she knocked. "Liv's here," Sophia announced as Marcus opened the door. The apartment was tiny. Living room, kitchen, and a hallway leading to what must be 2 small bedrooms. But it was spotless and filled with warmth. Sophia's artwork covered the refrigerator. A photo of a beautiful Latina woman, Elena, sat on the mantel next to a candle. Welcome to our palace, Marcus said with a self-deprecating smile. I know it's not much. It's perfect, Olivia said, and meant it. The smell of garlic and herbs filled the air. The table was set with mismatched plates but careful attention, folded napkins, a small vase with flowers from the complex's garden. Daddy's been cooking all day, Sophia announced. He wanted everything to be special. Marcus blushed. Sophia, you're supposed to keep some secrets. During dinner, Olivia learned more about their life. Marcus worked security at Presbyterian St. Joseph Hospital from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., then came home to get Sophia ready for preschool. He slept from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. while Sophia was at school, then picked her up and spent the afternoon with her before Carmen, Elena's mother, came to watch Sophia during his work hours. It's not ideal, Marcus admitted, serving seconds of spaghetti that Olivia could tell he'd made from scratch. But it means I'm here for her during the day, and I'm studying for my EMT certification online. Once I pass that test, I can get a day job with better pay. When's the test? Olivia asked. 3 months. I've been saving up for the certification fee. He paused. It's expensive, but it's our way out of this schedule. After dinner, Sophia insisted on showing Olivia her room. It was small but magical. Glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, a bookshelf made from cinder blocks and boards, stuffed animals arranged carefully on a twin bed. Daddy reads to me every night, Sophia said, climbing onto the bed, even when he's really tired from work. What's your favorite book? Sophia pulled out a worn copy of Goodnight Moon. Mommy used to read this to me. Now Daddy does the voices. Olivia's heart clenched. This little girl had lost her mother, and her father was working himself to exhaustion to give her stability and love. Back in the living room, Marcus was washing dishes. Let me help, Olivia offered. You're a guest. I'm a friend, she corrected, picking up a dish towel. As they cleaned up together, Marcus opened up more. Elena got sick when Sophia was 2. Ovarian cancer. We caught it late. His voice was steady, but Olivia could hear the old pain underneath. The treatments were expensive, even with insurance. We lost our savings, then our house. I was working 2 jobs, but it wasn't enough. I'm so sorry. She fought for 8 months. Right up until the end, she was more worried about Sophia and me than herself. Marcus set down a plate, staring out the small kitchen window. The medical bills, they followed us even after she died. I'm still paying them off. Olivia wanted to tell him she could make those bills disappear with a single phone call. Instead, she said, You're an amazing father. Some days I wonder, Sophia deserves more than this tiny apartment and a dad who's always tired. She deserves love, and you give her that every single day. Marcus looked at her then, really looked at her. How do you do that? Do what? See the good in everything. Most people hear my story and... He shrugged. They see problems. Baggage. A guy who can't provide. Olivia's chest tightened. Anyone who sees you as anything less than incredible is an idiot, even though I work security and live paycheck to paycheck, especially because of that. You're doing whatever it takes to take care of your daughter. That's not failure, Marcus. That's heroism. He stepped closer, and for a moment, Olivia thought he might kiss her. Instead, he said quietly, I haven't felt this way about anyone since Elena. It scares me. Why? Because I don't want to mess this up. And because... He hesitated. Because I don't have much to offer. You have everything to offer. This time, he did kiss her. Soft, tentative, full of hope and fear. When they broke apart, Olivia felt like crying. This beautiful, honest man thought he wasn't enough when he was everything she'd been searching for. I should go, she whispered. Sophia has school tomorrow. Will I see you again? Yes. But as Olivia drove back to Cherry Creek, the guilt was eating her alive. Marcus was falling in love with someone who didn't exist. He was sharing his struggles, his fears, his daughter with a woman who was lying about everything. Her phone buzzed with a text from him. "Thank you for tonight. Sophia hasn't smiled this much in months. You're special, Liv." She pulled over and cried in her car. She was special, but not as the broke retail worker he thought he was dating. She was a millionaire CEO who could solve all his problems with pocket change, and she was lying to him about it. The next morning, Olivia sat in her office staring at her computer screen. She'd Googled Presbyterian St. Joseph Hospital and found their security contractor. A few phone calls could get Marcus promoted, better pay, day shift hours. But that would prove everything he feared about her. That she saw him as a charity case, a problem to be solved with money. Her assistant knocked. "Your 10 a.m. is here." "Cancel it," Olivia said. "Cancel everything today." She needed to figure out how to tell Marcus the truth before this went any further. But she was already too late. Because at that very moment, Sophia was getting sick at preschool, and Marcus was about to make a choice that would change everything. The call came at 11:47 a.m. while Marcus was in the middle of his EMT study session. He'd been up since 6 a.m. after working all night, but the certification test was only 10 weeks away now. "Mr. Rivera? This is Janet from Little Sprouts Preschool. Sophia has a fever and she's asking for you." Marcus was already grabbing his keys. "I'll be right there." "Actually, sir, we also need to discuss Sophia's tuition. We're showing a balance of—" "I'll handle it when I get there." He hung up and called his supervisor at the hospital. "Mike, I need to leave early today. Sophia's sick. Marcus, you know we have that big meeting with the insurance executives at 2 p.m. They specifically requested you be there since you know their account." Marcus paused. This meeting could lead to a promotion, better hours, day shift work, everything he'd been working toward. "My daughter has a fever. Can't her grandmother pick her up? Carmen's at her own job. Look, I'm sorry, but Sophia comes first. If you leave now, don't bother coming to the meeting next week either. They don't like unreliable people." Marcus closed his eyes. He needed this job, needed the promotion. But Sophia needed him more. "Then I guess I won't be at the meeting." He hung up and drove to the preschool, his hands shaking slightly. Not from fear of losing the promotion, but from the realization that he'd chosen his daughter without a second's hesitation. Elena would have been proud. At Little Sprouts, Sophia was curled up in the nurse's office, her cheeks flushed with fever. "Daddy!" She reached for him immediately. "Hey, baby girl, let's get you home." The preschool director, Mrs. Chen, pulled him aside. "Mr. Rivera, about the tuition balance." "How much?" $340. "We've been patient, but I'll have it by Friday." He had no idea how, but he'd figure it out. At home, Sophia was clingy and feverish. Marcus gave her children's Tylenol and made her soup from a can, wishing he could afford the good stuff from the deli. She fell asleep on the couch with her head in his lap while he stroked her hair. His phone buzzed. A text from Liv. "How are you doing? Haven't heard from you today." He looked down at Sophia's sleeping face, then typed back. "Sophia's sick. Had to leave work early. Might have cost me a promotion, but she needed me." The response came immediately. "You did the right thing. Is there anything I can do?" Marcus smiled despite his exhaustion. Most women would have offered sympathy and changed the subject. Liv was asking how to help. "Just knowing you care means everything. I'm coming over. You don't have to." "I want to. I'll bring soup." An hour later, there was a soft knock on his door. Marcus opened it to find Liv holding a bag from the grocery store, wearing jeans and a sweater that looked like she'd thrown them on quickly. "How is she?" Liv asked quietly. "Sleeping. Fever's down a little." Olivia looked at Sophia curled up on the couch, then at Marcus. He looked exhausted, worried, and somehow more attractive than ever. This was a man who'd sacrificed a career opportunity without hesitation for his sick child. "Have you eaten?" she asked. "I'm not really hungry. When's the last time you slept?" Marcus rubbed his face. "I worked last night, then had to study this morning. Then this happened. I'll sleep when Sophia's better. Go take a nap. I'll watch her. I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. I'm offering." Olivia sat down carefully next to Sophia on the couch. "I know how to take care of a sick kid, and you're no good to her if you collapse from exhaustion." Marcus hesitated. He barely knew Liv, but something about her felt safe, trustworthy. "Just for an hour," he said finally. "Take as long as you need." Marcus disappeared into his bedroom, and Olivia was alone with Sophia. The little girl stirred, opening fever-bright eyes. "Where's Daddy?" "He's resting. I'm going to stay with you for a while, okay?" Sophia studied her face. "Are you going to leave when I get better?" The question hit Olivia like a punch. Why would you think that? Because people leave when things get hard. Mommy didn't want to leave, but she did. And Daddy's girlfriends always leave when they see how much work I am. Olivia's heart broke. This 4-year-old had already learned that love could disappear. "Sophia, look at me." Olivia waited until the little girl met her eyes. "I'm not going anywhere. Your daddy is the most amazing man I've ever met, and you're the most amazing little girl. If anyone leaves you two, they're the ones missing out." Sophia considered this seriously. "Promise?" "I promise." For the next 3 hours, Olivia did something she'd never done before. She took care of a sick child. She made Sophia soup from the bag she'd brought, expensive organic stuff she'd grabbed without thinking about staying in character. She read Goodnight Moon 4 times. She held Sophia while she cried about missing her mommy. When Sophia's fever spiked again, Olivia didn't hesitate. She called her personal physician, Dr. Martinez, who made house calls for his wealthy clients. "Dr. Martinez? It's Olivia Chen. I need you to come to an address in Aurora, a 4-year-old with a fever." "Ms. Chen, I don't typically—" "Please, it's important." She gave him Marcus's address, then realized what she'd done. How was she going to explain a private doctor making house calls to a broke retail worker? But Sophia was burning up, and Marcus was finally getting the sleep he desperately needed. She'd figure out the explanation later. Dr. Martinez arrived 30 minutes later, looking confused to be in this neighborhood. Olivia met him at the door. "The child is on the couch. Her father's sleeping. He worked all night." Dr. Martinez examined Sophia gently, taking her temperature and listening to her breathing. "Mild ear infection. Nothing serious, but she needs antibiotics." He wrote a prescription and handed it to Olivia. "The pharmacy on Colfax should have this. She'll feel better by tomorrow." After he left, Olivia realized she had another problem. The prescription would cost money Marcus didn't have, and she couldn't offer to pay without breaking character. She was still figuring out what to do when Marcus emerged from his bedroom, looking more rested, but immediately focused on Sophia. "How is she?" "A little better. But Marcus—" Olivia took a breath. "I called a doctor." "You what?" "Liv, I can't afford—" He was free. A friend of mine from when I had better insurance. He owed me a favor. Marcus looked suspicious for the first time since she'd known him. A doctor who makes house calls for free? It's complicated, but Sophia has an ear infection. She needs antibiotics. Marcus took the prescription, and Olivia watched his face fall as he calculated the cost in his head. "I'll figure it out," he said quietly. "Let me help." "No." His voice was firm. "You've done enough, more than enough." But Olivia could see the stress in his shoulders, the worry in his eyes. This man was choosing between his daughter's medicine and next week's groceries, and she had millions of dollars sitting in accounts she never even thought about. The lie was becoming unbearable, but telling the truth now, when he was vulnerable and desperate, would feel like the worst kind of manipulation. She was trapped between her deception and her love for this family. And tomorrow, everything would get worse. That evening, after Olivia left and Sophia was finally sleeping peacefully, Marcus sat at his kitchen table with a calculator and a pile of bills. The prescription would cost $87. Sophia's preschool balance was $340. Rent was due in 6 days. He had $215 in his checking account. Marcus rubbed his temples and looked at the EMT study materials scattered across the table. The certification test fee was $400 due next week if he wanted to take the exam on schedule. He'd been saving for months, keeping the money in a coffee can in his bedroom closet. He walked to his room and pulled out the can. $412 in crumpled bills. His ticket to a better life, to day shift work, to being able to afford things like doctor visits without panic. But Sophia needed her medicine tonight. Marcus took $87 from the can and drove to the 24-hour pharmacy on Colfax. As he waited for the prescription, his phone buzzed with a text from his supervisor. "Hope your daughter feels better. The insurance meeting is rescheduled for next Friday. You're still off the list." He stared at the message. One sick day had cost him the promotion he'd been working toward for 8 months. "Rivera?" the pharmacist called. Marcus paid for Sophia's antibiotics with money that was supposed to buy his future, then drove home through the empty streets of Aurora. The next morning, Sophia was already feeling better. The antibiotics had worked quickly, and she was back to her chatty, energetic self. "Can Liv come over again?" Sophia asked over breakfast. "She makes good soup." "We'll see, baby girl. Liv has her own job to worry about." But Marcus found himself hoping she'd text. In just a few days, Liv had become something he hadn't expected to find again, someone who made him feel less alone. His phone rang. Carmen. "Marcus, I heard Sophia was sick yesterday. She's fine now. Ear infection. And you left work? Mijo, you can't keep doing this. Sophia needs stability, not a father who loses jobs because he's too emotional." "I'm not too emotional. I'm a parent. Elena would want you to think practically. That little girl needs a roof over her head more than she needs you holding her hand every time she sniffles." Marcus closed his eyes. Carmen meant well, but she'd never understood that he couldn't choose between providing for Sophia and being present for her. He had to do both. "I have to go, Carmen. Sophia needs breakfast. Think about what I said." After Carmen hung up, Marcus looked at Sophia coloring at the kitchen table, humming softly to herself. She was happy. Despite everything, their tiny apartment, his exhaustion, the constant financial stress, she was happy. His phone buzzed. A text from Liv. "How's Sophia feeling today?" "Much better. Thank you for yesterday. I don't know how to repay you. You don't need to repay kindness." Marcus stared at that message for a long time. When was the last time someone had helped him without expecting something in return? "Would you like to have dinner again this week?" he typed. "I promise Sophia will be healthy this time. I'd love that. But let me cook for you this time. You've been taking care of everyone else." Marcus hesitated. He'd never been to Liv's place. What if she saw how different their lives were when she came to his neighborhood versus him going to hers? "You don't have to." "I want to. What's your address?" 20 minutes later, Olivia was sitting in her Tesla in the parking lot of a luxury apartment complex in Cherry Creek, staring at her phone. She'd almost given Marcus her real address without thinking. She couldn't bring him to her penthouse. The doorman, the marble lobby, the view of the mountains from her floor-to-ceiling windows. It would destroy everything. But she also couldn't keep meeting only at his place without it seeming strange. Olivia drove to a modest apartment complex in Capitol Hill, middle ground between Aurora and Cherry Creek. She found the leasing office. "I need to rent a furnished apartment for a month," she told the manager. "We don't typically do short-term. I'll pay 3 months up front. Cash." An hour later, Olivia had the keys to a 1-bedroom apartment that looked exactly like what a retail manager might afford. Basic furniture, small kitchen, No luxury touches. She spent the afternoon at Target and Walmart, buying the kind of groceries and household items that Liv would have. That evening, she texted Marcus the address. Apartment 3C. Come hungry. When Marcus and Sophia arrived, Olivia was genuinely nervous. She'd cooked simple spaghetti and meatballs. Nothing fancy, nothing that would seem out of character. The apartment was small and plain, but clean and welcoming. This is nice, Marcus said, looking around. How long have you lived here? Not long, Olivia said, which was technically true. I had to move recently. Rent increase at my old place. Sophia immediately made herself at home, exploring the small living room and declaring the couch perfect for watching movies. During dinner, Marcus seemed more relaxed than Olivia had ever seen him. It's nice to be the guest for once, he admitted. I'm always worried about whether I'm doing enough, providing enough. You do more than enough. Sometimes I wonder what Elena would think. If she'd be proud of how I'm raising Sophia, or if she'd want me to be doing better financially. Olivia reached across the small table and took his hand. She'd be proud. Any mother would be proud to see their child so loved, so happy, even living in a tiny apartment with a dad who works nights. Especially then. Sophia doesn't need a mansion, Marcus. She needs what you give her every day. Love, attention, security. You're enough. More than enough. Marcus squeezed her hand. How do you always know exactly what to say? Because I've spent my whole life thinking money was the answer to everything, Olivia thought. Because you're teaching me what actually matters. Because it's true, she said instead. After Sophia fell asleep on the couch during a movie, Marcus and Olivia found themselves talking quietly in the kitchen. I have something to tell you, Marcus said, his voice serious. Olivia's heart stopped. Had he figured out who she really was? I'm falling in love with you, he said simply. I know it's fast, and I know I don't have much to offer, but I needed you to know. The words hit Olivia like a physical blow. This beautiful, honest man was falling in love with someone who didn't exist. Marcus, you don't have to say anything back. I haven't felt this way since Elena, and it scared me to keep it inside. Olivia looked at his face, open, vulnerable, trusting. She was falling in love with him too, but he didn't even know her real name. I'm falling in love with you too, she whispered, because it was true, even if everything else was a lie. When he kissed her this time, it was deeper, more certain, like a promise. But promises built on lies don't last. And tomorrow, Olivia's carefully constructed world was about to come crashing down in the most devastating way possible. The next morning, Olivia woke up in her fake apartment feeling sick with guilt. She had to tell Marcus the truth before this went any further. But her phone was buzzing with work calls. Summit Digital's biggest client, Hartwell Insurance Group, was threatening to pull their contract unless they met in person within 48 hours. The same insurance company where Marcus worked security. Schedule the meeting, Olivia told her assistant. Conference room A, tomorrow at 2 p.m. That evening, she went to Marcus's apartment for dinner. Sophia showed Olivia a drawing she'd made of the three of them at the park. After Sophia went to bed, Marcus pulled Olivia onto the couch. I want to try, really try. With you, he said. Olivia felt tears threatening. What if you found out something about me that changed everything? Marcus cupped her face gently. I've seen your heart. That's who you are. Everything else is just details. The next day, Olivia sat in Summit Digital's conference room across from Hartwell Insurance executives. The meeting was going well until James Morrison mentioned their security staff. One in particular, Marcus Rivera, has been with us for 2 years. Excellent employee, studying for his EMT certification. We're hoping to move him to a day position once he passes his test. Olivia's blood ran cold. They were talking about Marcus. Actually, Morrison continued, Rivera was supposed to be in a meeting with us last week, but he had a family emergency. His daughter was sick, We had to postpone his promotion review. Marcus had lost his promotion opportunity because he'd left work to take care of Sophia. The same day, Olivia had called her private doctor. That evening, when she arrived at Marcus's apartment, she found him on the phone, his voice tense. "I understand, but the test fee is due tomorrow. Can't you give me another week?" "No, I get it. Rules are rules. I'll have to take the test next session." Sophia looked up from her coloring. "Daddy can't take his test because we don't have enough money. You said the medicine money was supposed to be for your test." Olivia felt like she'd been punched. Marcus had used his EMT certification money to buy Sophia's antibiotics. "Marcus, why didn't you tell me?" "Because it's not your problem. I made a choice. Sophia needed medicine more than I needed a test date." Olivia excused herself to the bathroom and called her assistant. "I need you to make an anonymous payment, $400 to the Colorado EMT Certification Board for Marcus Rivera's test fee." When she returned, Marcus's phone was ringing. "Mr. Rivera, we received an anonymous payment for your test fee tonight. You're registered for next Friday's exam." Marcus looked at Olivia, his eyes narrowing. "Liv, did you pay for my test?" Sophia sensed tension. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, baby girl. Go brush your teeth." After Sophia left, Marcus turned back to Olivia. "How does a retail manager have $400 to throw around? Either you're who you say you are, or you're not. Which is it?" Olivia looked at this man she loved and finally found her courage. "My name is Olivia Chen. I'm the CEO of Summit Digital Solutions. I'm worth about $50 million, and I've been lying to you since the day we met." Marcus stared at her like she was a stranger. "You've been studying me like a lab rat. Poor single dad. Let's see how he reacts when the rich lady pretends to be broke. Was it entertaining?" "It wasn't like that." Sophia appeared in her pajamas. "Why are you yelling? Is Liv leaving?" Sophia asked. Marcus looked at Olivia, his eyes full of hurt. "Yeah, Sophia. Liv is leaving. But she promised she wouldn't leave. Sometimes people break their promises." "Get out," Marcus said quietly. "Get out of my home." Olivia left, hearing Sophia's confused sobs through the door. 2 weeks later, Carmen, Marcus's mother-in-law, visited Olivia's office. "You're the woman who broke my son-in-law's heart. Sophia keeps asking when you're coming back, and Marcus is miserable. He passed his EMT test, got the promotion, but he's not eating, not sleeping." "He passed?" Olivia felt relief. "Why did you lie to him?" "Because every man I've dated either wanted my money or was intimidated by my success. I wanted to find someone who could love me for who I really am, then prove it. Not with money, with actions. Show him that you see him as a man, not a charity case." The answer came when Olivia saw a news story about budget cuts affecting Sophia's preschool. She had an idea, not a rescue mission, but a partnership. Olivia walked into Little Sprouts preschool wearing jeans and a simple sweater. "I'm Olivia Chen from Summit Digital. I'd like to discuss a partnership." She outlined her plan. Summit Digital would provide free cybersecurity training to parents in the community, real job skills. In exchange, parents would help with school maintenance and fundraising. "It's not charity," Olivia explained. "It's an exchange. Your community has skills and dedication. My company has technical knowledge." The program launched 2 weeks later. Olivia spent evenings teaching computer skills to parents who worked multiple jobs but still showed up to learn. One evening, as Olivia packed up her laptop, she heard a familiar voice. "Miss Olivia!" Sophia ran across the classroom and threw her arms around Olivia's waist. "I missed you so much." Olivia looked up and saw Marcus standing in the doorway. He looked rested, healthier. "Mrs. Chen told me about the program," Marcus said. "My neighbor got a job at a tech company because of what you taught her." "Why are you really doing this?" Marcus asked. "Because I love this community. You taught me what family means. I'm not trying to win you back, Marcus. I'm trying to become the person you made me want to be." Sophia looked between them hopefully. "Can Miss Olivia come to dinner?" Marcus looked at Olivia for a long moment. The EMT job is going well. Day shift, better pay. Sophia's happier. I'm glad. You deserve that. I miss you, Marcus said quietly. Sophia misses you. But I don't know how to trust again. Love is always a risk, Marcus. The question is whether we're brave enough to take it. Sophia tugged on Marcus's hand. Daddy, remember what you told me about Mommy? You said Mommy was brave enough to love you even though love sometimes hurts. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. So, maybe you should be brave too. If we try this again, Marcus said slowly, it has to be different. No more lies. No more tests. Just us, figuring it out together. Just us, Olivia agreed. Carmen's making tamales. If you want to come to dinner, you're welcome. As yourself this time. At Carmen's house, Olivia told them about her real life. Growing up in her parents' restaurant, losing everything in 2008, building her company from nothing. Money doesn't solve everything, she said. But it can't buy the feeling I get when Sophia draws me a picture, or when Marcus looks at me like I'm the most important person in the room. After dinner, Sophia fell asleep on the couch between them. This is what I want, Olivia whispered. This feeling, this life, even the chaos, the worrying about money and school, especially that. I want the beautiful, messy, ordinary life you've built. 6 months later, they stood in the backyard of a modest house in Aurora with a swing set and garden. Sophia scattered flower petals in her white dress while Carmen cried happy tears. The ceremony was simple. When they exchanged vows, Olivia promised to love Marcus because of their differences, not in spite of them. But the most important moment came when Sophia stepped forward with the rings. Miss Olivia, you promised you wouldn't leave, and you kept your promise. Even when Daddy was sad and angry, you stayed. That's what mommies do. Olivia knelt down. Is it okay if I'm your stepmommy? Can I just call you Mommy? I think hearts can have room for 2 mommies. I would be honored, Olivia whispered. As they danced, Marcus said, You were testing me to see if I could love someone with nothing. But you're the one who had nothing. No real family, no community, no idea what love actually looked like, and you taught me. Later that night, they sat on their front porch swing, watching the stars. Any regrets? Marcus asked. Just one. I wish I'd been brave enough to tell you the truth from the beginning. We have the rest of our lives. And as they sat in their ordinary neighborhood, with their sleeping daughter upstairs, Olivia realized she'd finally found what she'd been searching for. Not someone who could love her despite her money, but someone who could love her because of who she chose to be with it. Someone who saw her as a partner, a mother, a woman worthy of love just as she was. Sometimes the greatest test isn't whether someone can love you at your worst, but whether you're brave enough to be loved at your best. And sometimes, the richest life is the one you build with your own hands, surrounded by people who choose you every single day. If you believe in love that sees beyond the surface, in families that choose each other, and in the courage it takes to be truly known, then you're exactly who Lunio Stories is for. Because the most beautiful stories aren't about perfect people, they're about real people choosing to love imperfectly, bravely, and completely.